Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Cad. Season 3 of Smiling Friends just wrapped up, so we're going to be doing a tier list on every episode. This is one of my favorite shows. I'm very passionate about it. I love this shit. I adore it. This is my jam, man. This is my sauce. As you can see, we have all the episodes here. And by the way, I have D. I've actually annotated it with Still Good. D tier episodes, I'd still watch over like most cartoons, most shows. But in the case of Smiling Friends, I would say it's weaker than the other episodes. Does that make sense? Like, this is based on relative to the other episodes, not as far as my personal entertainment, like my personal enjoyment of it. Yes, I'm ranking them off my enjoyment relative to other Smiling Friends episodes. Because if you rank this to like, and I'm going to sound like Mr. Enter here, to like Family Guy or something, everything here would go AS, right? So I'm just going to bear that in mind because I don't want you guys thinking like, oh my God, I love this episode, but you put it in D tier. Look, I only put it in D tier because I like other episodes more. Okay, that's literally it. I'm not saying that anything here is shit. Also, thank you guys for 97 subscribers. We're on the road to 100, which we're very close to now. So I just like to take a second to thank you guys for all that. And if you like the bangers, just, leave a like or dislike if you dislike it. Think my opinion's shit. We're not going to do too many spoilers. If you haven't seen the show, I'd love for you guys to watch the show. But yeah, let's get into it. Desmond's Big Day Out is a B tier. This was the pilot episode. I'll give you guys like the basic rundown, but I can't really go into the rest of it just because I'm trying to avoid spoilers here. So Desmond is down in the dumps because basically his life has turned into shambles and he has a gun pointed to his head pretty much the entire episode. That's just who he is like as a character. He's just always holding the gun to his head. It's kind of funny. We're going to leave it in B tier. I think it sets the foundation for what you should expect. So if you were to say to me, oh, Ked, what's Smiling Friends all about? I'd say watch this episode. You're going to get the basic formula, the basic gist for pretty much everything that happens in the show. It does a good job of introducing everybody. It does a good job of introducing what their job is. So yeah, it's a B tier. All right, next we got Mr. Frog. The basic introduction is that Mr. Frog is like a television superstar and he gets fired from his show and now he's down in the dumps and wants his job back. And that's Pim and Charlie. They are sent on this job to help them out. I think it's a fantastic episode. We get to see a lot of Glep in the B subplot, which is about Glep auditioning to be the new Mr. Frog. And but again, I'm not going to go further into it because spoilers, right? And I got to keep the video short, but I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed the ending of the episode, how it played out. Yeah, I think this is it's also a feel good Smiling Friends episode, which is weird to say. I think Shrimp's Odyssey is. I think it's a C tier. I still think it's a good episode. Again, the basic plot is Shrimp is dumped by his girlfriend, so now he's all depressed, and then it splits into two, where Pim tries to figure out more about Shrimp's ex-girlfriend, and Charlie helps out Shrimp. I'm not going to go into more of this, but let's just say that it's a good episode. But I feel like the things that came out of it, the memes and stuff, I feel like it's not one of those episodes I would rewatch all the time as opposed to things in like the higher tiers. So I'll put it in C tier. It's a good C tier episode. Same with the Halloween special. Again, the Halloween special, it's slower moving than the other episodes as far as like the humor and stuff if you're into that. It really just follows Pim and his quest to get firewood for the boss. And yeah, that's really about it for this episode. The twist, not the twist ending, but the ending, it's not really a twist, is one where I'd say you should, like, it's worth the wait. It's one of the better endings in any episode of the show. It's not the best ending in the season, but I'd say it's up there. It's in that conversation for sure. All right, Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty is a lock for, in my opinion, A tier, low A tier. Nah, I'll put it high B tier. I think Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty is a harder episode to rank because it breaks the traditional formula like the Halloween special does. It's a murder mystery style because you could tell by the title Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty, and it explores the wacky characters and they try and piece together who killed Simon S. Salty. And I feel like it moves at a different pace, but even still, it shows that the show can go these different routes without needing to stick to the formula, like you would see formulas like in House and stuff like that. And it actually works. And I'll say this, like there's a few memes that came out of the episode, but one that I do remember like vividly was the I'm going here since I was a homunculus. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Enchanted Forest, I think writing wise might be the best episode of the season. I may put it in S tier depending on how I'm feeling. I think that the animation's beautiful. I think that the Enchanted Forest is a fantastic scene. It's like a fantastic environment. I'm trying to figure out the word setting. It's a fantastic setting. I think that Mip is animated very beautifully. And I can't really say much more about the episode, but let's just say that uh, it has an ending that I think is one of the better ones. And it really highlights, one of the best antagonists in the history of the show. Again, I'm not going to say anything more, even though the show has been out for years. To anybody that hasn't seen the show, go watch it from season 1, episode 1. It's worth it. It doesn't take too long. And I think that everything was hilarious. Frowning Friends is an S tier. The basic plot I can give you guys is that a new rival company to Smiling Friends moves into town and they're trying to compete with this rival business. It's S tier because I think it's hilarious. I'm gonna say that a lot. I need to find better words. I find it amusing. I find it astute. I don't know. It's funny. Um, Again, another one of those episodes that kind of sort of breaks the tradition of going out and making people smile. We've done this now with 3 episodes on the season, but it does so in a manner that I think is great. Again, I think people who've seen that this season have said for years that this is the best one in the season, and I tend to agree with them. There's a lot of classics that came out here, like 3D Squelton and the Renaissance Men, and yeah, I think it's fantastic, and you should check it out if you can. And then okay, I can't say more. That's a spoiler. Charlie Dies and Doesn't Come Back is an A tier. The basic plot is Charlie dies and goes to hell, and he's in hell. Not much more I could say about that to keep it spoiler free. It's my second favorite one of the season because I draw parallels between it and the Divine Comedy, and I read the Divine Comedy before watching this episode. So, I was like, oh my god, it's like Dante's Inferno. Easy lock for A tier, in my opinion. But again, this is why tier lists are beautiful, because I know a lot of people would say this is either their favorite or like their least favorite on the season, and we can agree on this shit. Smiling Friends Go to Brazil is a D tier episode. Again, I think it's pretty funny. It's just that it's more like the style of humor that is just like a normal conversation. You'll see why when you watch it. Again, I can't spoil anything, but the basic plot is the Smiling Friends Go to Brazil. All right. This is it for season 1. I'm actually quite happy with this. The only thing, I might move Mr. Frog here. Keep the normal distribution. I am a square. But I really do think that these 2 episodes are on a tier of their own. This is the best one. This is the worst one. All right, season 2. I think Wembley might be the best episode in the entire show. I think that the use of different styles of animation, I think that, the antagonist of the episode is fantastic. I think that there's a lot of jokes in there. Like, I'm going to try and say these without spoiling the episode, but like, America has a fucking fentanyl crisis. Or, brown dirty water. And the whole community, I think, loves the Gwimbly episode. They talk about it like it's real. Like anytime that Gwimbly is like a video game character, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. But like you'll see in media that like people are like, "Oh my god, you guys remember playing Gwimbly as a kid?" And he's animated like a PlayStation character. I thought it was great, and it really highlights the different animation styles that are used in the show, which you'll see that, and I think it's one of the things that makes the show fantastic because they go across different animation styles beyond like the main cast. You could see Pim, Charlie, and Mr. Frog are all animated in the same way. Desmond too, but like Gwimbly, Mip, animated differently. I think it's great. Mr. President, I felt like was the weakest episode in the entire show. It's contrasting, right? I felt like the Mr. President episode, basically, the president needs help smiling, and in order to do that, I guess they take along his wing and help him try to win the election. And I'm not going to say any more about the episode or who he's running against because, again, spoilers. But I think this is a D tier episode because it actually might be the only one that I wouldn't willingly rewatch. I felt like the humor wasn't my thing. I felt like the client wasn't, it was harder to watch that episode than any other one in the show. I think a lot of people agree with me on that, but some people will also say that they love the Mr. President episode. I was talking with my friends and family about it. They really like this episode, so maybe I'm wrong, but it's a D tier for me. Alan Adventure also belongs in this conversation. I think the Alan Adventure is another episode that I think is wacky in the sense that it doesn't follow the same formula as the other episodes like The Client, Go Help Them Smile. It just follows Alan going on this wacky adventure, which you can tell, right? I felt like the landlord was hilarious at the start of the episode. And yeah, I think that I can't really say much more about the episode, but it's worth a watch. I think it is one of the better ones of the second season. I thought it was great. The Succubus episode belongs, I'll say, here next to the other Halloween special. I feel like the Halloween specials on these two seasons are very similar in the sense that, I mean, they're cool, right? And it's also a Halloween special, right? The boss, marries a succubus, and there's a Daniel the Demon Slayer makes an appearance, which is the nostalgia critic. And for any Oni Plays fans out there that were like, "Oh my god, the nostalgia critic!" It was fantastic. Again, it's unfortunate that it has to be in Smiling Friends because it'd be the best episode of almost any other show, but it has to go in C tier because I just felt like it was weaker than the other ones of the season. Professor Psychotic, I think, belongs in the C tier as well. It also just felt weaker to me. Some people love the rotoscope animation that is seen in the Professor Psychotic's brother and Professor Psychotic at times. It starts off with them helping Professor Psychotic become this evil scientist, and then we see that the professor actually has problems with his family life, and they go into that trying to make him smile. So I think he's a lock for C tier. When I first watched it, I thought it was one of the better ones, but I've watched it so much that I don't think I have the same opinion about it. The Aliens episode, though, also belongs in the high A tier. I'll say it's on the same tier as the Charlie Dies and Doesn't Come Back episode. There's many different styles of animation that are used. You could tell that they went off. They love making this episode. It's a great episode. Essentially, Pim and Charlie get abducted by aliens. And it's one of my favorite ones. I think I'd show people this one if they'd never seen it. There is a flash warning, but whatever. If you're watching Smiling Friends, you know that. Speaking of flash warnings, I got Spamtopia in the low B tier. I don't find this episode to be that strong. Speaking of, flash warnings, there's the whole like Spanish bit where when I first watched it, it was like, oh my God, Spanish. The whole Spamtopia seemed pretty cool. There's a good twist ending in here as well. I'd give it a watch. I'd give it a watch if you haven't seen this episode, but I think it belongs here in the B tier compared to the other episodes of the show. And finally, Rotten the Snowman, I feel like was also a weaker episode in the season, but it was wholesome. It was cute. I'm comfortable placing it here as middle of the pack, actually. You know, there's a whole bit about Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm not going to say what because, again, spoilers in the show. You need to go see it. But essentially, they bring a snowman to life and teach it that it's going to die and it has an existential crisis. And they essentially work to make Rotten the Snowman happy again. Right? And I thought it was a cute episode. I thought it was a pretty good Christmas special. I feel like Smelling Friends did better with the Christmas specials than they did with the Halloween ones, but that's just me. All right. We're moving on to season 3. And this is how I feel right now. Again, the distribution's going to get fucked, but that's just how it goes. This is my girlfriend's favorite episode, actually. The Silly Samuel one. I enjoyed it. I think that it's really funny. It belongs in the A tier. Essentially, if you can't tell, Silly Samuel wants help with being taken seriously. I feel like the ending's cute. I feel like there's the subplot about there's a city inspector that comes in. I think it's an episode that has a lot of very iconic bits. If you guys have ever seen the Alan, we're so fucked. Or like, I'm trying to think of another one here. Like, hey guys, it's me, Charlie. Did that guy just turn into sand? Like, a lot of things in this episode that are iconic, especially from this season, come from the Silly Samuel episode. I think it's great. I might even move it up just because I was talking myself into it. So yeah, I'll do that. High A tier. All right. This is the third Mr. Frog episode. The season 3 Mr. Frog episode, which by the way was always the second episode of every season. I felt like it was a beautiful episode about the character of Mr. Frog. You know, the basic plot is he's upset because he's been so successful that he's got nothing else to prove, you know? And it's just finding purpose. I feel like it's I actually find this one to be the most emotional episode as far as finding, I feel like a lot of us just struggle with the idea of finding purpose, no matter what level of success, just finding that sort of happiness and inner peace and the strive for that, I think it's one of the better episodes of the show as far as that's considered, but humor wise, it wasn't as funny. There were some parts of the episode that were uncomfortable for sure. But I bet some fucking film buff is going to be like, this is absolute cinema, man. It actually brought a tear to my eye. So I'll put it here. I think it was the best Mr. Frog episode, and I think it is a tier above the OG Mr. Frog episode. So yeah. Mole Man and the Mole Penis. C tier. This one was weird. Essentially, there was a mole man, and he kidnapped Pim and Charlie. And yeah, it follows a very weird. It's very weird. The whole episode's very weird to me. I like it a little bit more than I like the Professor Psychotic one, but that's where I'll put it. Some people love this episode. It just wasn't for me. The season 3 Halloween special went fucking ballistic. They went balls to the wall. And I don't think it's as good as Silly Samuel, but I do think I'll say here. They went balls to the wall with the animation. They were a little mean to Pim at the start of the episode. Like, everyone was a bit of a dick, but outside of that, like, it's great. You guys need to see it if you haven't seen it yet. I think it is the perfect Halloween special that they've done. Pim and Charlie Say Mother Nature is a lock for B tier. I'll put it here. I think it's hilarious. I think that, the idea is that they're trying to hunt for this brown blur in the wilderness. There's a whole twist with that. There's a twist with the, Mother Nature herself. And yeah, I'm not going to go into much more detail about it, but I'm sure you guys have seen clips from this episode pertaining to something with Mr. Boss and Alan. Um, Shout out to them, I guess, but that's weird, but that's cool, We stand for that in the Ked is Here Nation. We do not condone homophobia. Squim Returns is an A tier. I don't know where though. I'm trying to think. Do the squim dance, squim dance. I'll put it here. Actually, these are all fucking fantastic. Holy shit, I'm gonna have a top heavy tier list. I'll put Silly Samuel in S tier yeah, I think it belongs there. I think that the Squim Returns episode is hilarious, and Squim is just like Pim on steroids. I'm not going to give much else about the personality of Squim. You guys need to go see the episode. I think that, the A and B subplots were both fantastic, and they meshed together well at the end. So yeah, I think that I'll give it an A tier for here. The Schmalugels episode might be my favorite of the season, so we're gonna put it in S tier. The twist client, which you always like to see a twist client, you know? The fact that the original person wasn't the person that they ended up like treating by the end of the episode. Schmalugels are like Smurfs, so there's gonna be the Smurfs and Gargamel. And they're called to the Schmalugels land. Again, I'm not gonna go into it much, but I think this is one of the funnier episodes, especially with the protagonist and antagonist. Yeah, I think this was actually hilarious. The rotoscoping too was fucking hilarious. And I've seen that everywhere now. Just how about a cool fucking training montage, right? Yeah. I think the animation was great. I think everything about this episode is actually awesome. It was a very solid start to finish episode about Schmalugels. And then finally, the Glepisode. I really like the Glepisode. It's my favorite Christmas special. So I had to put it at least here because of that. I think that it's very cute. I think that how Glep, like how it talks about, Glep. And, he's like over 1,000 years old. And they just go into everything Glep related. I think Glep is a fan favorite. And for good reason, he's just always sitting there on his iPad, not really doing anything. And we get to learn more about the character Glep. It would be S tier. Do I like it here? I do not. I'll put it top of A tier. And yeah, I think this is my tier list. And let me make this thing clear one more time for you guys in the audience. Just because something is in D tier doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's weaker compared to the other episodes. Smiling Friends is one of my favorite shows that's out right now. And you guys should go watch it. It's being renewed for a 4th and 5th season. So we got more Smiling Friends to come. I think it's in the GOAT conversation for Adult Swim shows. I'm not going to become this like Mr. Enter reviewer, but I'm so passionate about this show. And again, I had to bite my tongue and like hold my breath for a lot of these, and I know that my rankings kind of sucked, but I'm very happy with how this turned out. I'm looking at the list right now. I don't think I'd make any adjustments right off the rip. Let me know in the comments how I fucked it up somehow. And yeah, I've been Ked. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be good. Thank you guys for 97 subs. Once again, we're so close to my goal of 100 by the end of the year. We can make magic happen. And yeah, we're going to shoot big next year too. If I'm uploading in this format, this like takes me as long as it does to record. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Get the fuck out of here. And let's see, what's a wholesome message I could send out to the crowd here tonight? Let someone know that you love them or that you're thinking of them. Just shoot your shot with that crush, No, my actual message to you guys is, tell your parents, if they're good people, that, they're awesome and that you're thankful for having them as your parents. And yeah, get out of here. Bye-bye.